welcome back. My name is India and I happen to read a lot, and today we are going to be talking all about manga. For those of you who've been on the channel for a long time, you will know that I am such a big manga fan, and I don't really talk about it to the extent of which I talk about novels on this channel. So I thought today I would give a little bit of an insight into some of the manga series that I'm reading, but specifically going towards people who want to get into manga and some books that I would recommend that are really great for beginners. Because these are really great for beginners, they are probably going to be very, very popular series. So I don't want any of you coming into the comments that are like, well, duh, obviously. And also these are based on my personal opinions. It's my opinion! Of what I think are really good. So again, I don't want to see people in the comments that are like, crazy that you didn't include XYZ, you know? I don't want to hear it because this is my personal opinion. So we have The Girl from the Other Side. This is by Nagabe, or Nagabe. This is how I believe you pronounce it. I actually never realized how you pronounce this author's name. This is a really, really interesting series. I did actually recently get spoiled for the core crux of the story and the main plot, which was shocking to a certain extent about the nature and the relationship between these two characters. So I was a little bit disappointed from that. I wasn't surprised, but I was spoiled, which is very disappointing. But we follow two characters in this one, the main two. We have this young girl and her guardian. They live in this world where, outside of designated kind of community areas, the world has been taken over by this darkness and by these monsters. And it started off as basically a plague and an infection. And if you got this illness, you would turn into these kind of monsters, very similar to this guardian character here. And out of nowhere, we have this young girl who finds herself outside of the walls of one of these villages, one of these towns, and she is now in this kind of forbidden zone where these monsters roam. And it's about the guardian who is looking after her, trying to get her back to her auntie without getting touched by this illness. So a big key thing about these two is that they cannot touch because the illness is passed over through touch, and he doesn't want to turn her into a monster. It really does have this Brothers Grimm fairy tale-esque kind of Over the Garden Wall. If any of you have seen Over the Garden Wall, this kind of really eerie fairy tale, folk tale kind of story, which I really, really like. I really, really love the relationship between the guardian and the young girl. It's very much a father-daughter relationship, which I really like. If any of you are fans of like disgruntled adult that takes a young child under their wing kind of characters, you will love this. I think the art style is incredibly good. The mystery of the story is so compelling. I'm just so devastated that I was spoiled because there are 12 volumes. I still have 6 more volumes to read of this. So that is one of my goals this October, is to read the rest of the series in one sitting, because now that I've been spoiled, what can you say? What can you do? But yeah, this is really good. If you are somebody that likes horror stories, if you're somebody that likes kind of folklore tales, dark fairy tales, something a little bit on the kind of dark whimsical side, I would highly recommend this. If you like something a little bit more on the creepier side, I would recommend this. Then we have the Apothecary Diaries. This is by Natsu Hyuga. This is actually, I found out the other day, because I was trying to figure out from all the series I was reading how many volumes I needed to read before I could watch like the first season of the anime. And I was trying to Google this, and it's so fucking confusing because there's this manga series and there's another manga series, and I don't know what the difference is, whether maybe this is just the English one, and there's the light novel which the manga series is based on, which is incredibly far ahead. And then the artist for this was in jail for 2 years for tax fraud. Crazy. So I'm very confused, and they're bringing out season 3 and a movie, and I kind of wanted to read this because I'm a big fan. God, this video is all over the place already. I'm a really, really big fan in reading the manga first before watching the film. Now, a lot of you are going to be like, India, isn't that kind of the whole point? You read the source material before you watch the adaptation. I am one of those people outside of anime and manga where I like to watch the adaptation first and then read it, because 9 times out of 10, the adaptation is not going to be as good as the book. So I can kind of separate the two, enjoy the movie as it is and then enjoy the book series as it is. I cannot do that with manga because 9 times out of 10 the adaptations are quite faithful. So I feel like when I'm reading the manga, I'm like, cool, I kind of know this, which I find is quite different with book adaptations. But I think with the Apothecary Diaries, once I'm up to date, I'm gonna just have to watch everything and then just be up to date with the show and get to the manga when the manga reaches where we're at in the show. Let me explain the series to you. So the Apothecary Diaries follows our main character Mao Mao. It is vaguely based on like a Chinese royal family. It's not historical fiction. Like I wouldn't say it's historical fiction in the way that we're following like a specific time to a letter or a specific historical figure. The author has kind of vaguely taken ancient China and the royal family and the royal household and the inner palace and created fake characters of that. So it's a very interesting thing. It's more of a mystery series with a dash of historical fiction is what I would say. And Mao Mao is a young woman. She is an apothecary. And one day, and I've said this every time, I cannot remember why, she is kidnapped from her village and placed into the inner palace of the emperor, must basically work as a lowly servant and her wages go to her kidnappers. Again, couldn't tell you why. Please let me know in the comments if you remember why. In the first volume, she ends up getting the notice of a very important eunuch called Jinshi after she finds out and solves the mystery of why the concubines in the inner palace, all their children are getting very, very ill. And she solves this mystery and she ends up becoming one of the concubines' food tasters, testing for poison because her knowledge of poison is so good. So mainly the series is following Mao Mao as she navigates life in the inner palace and solves mysteries along the way due to her skills as an apothecary. So at this point, I've only read 2 volumes. The series at the moment, so when I left my bookseller job, one of the key things I did was buy a shit ton of manga with my bookseller discount before I left because buying manga is incredibly expensive, but there is a long way to go for this series. I've only read 2 so far. If you're somebody that likes more of a comedic slice of life story, this is really, really good. You just do follow Mao Mao as she navigates life. She's a little detective. There is a very interesting romantic dynamic between Mao Mao and Jinshi, which I think is really, really interesting. I haven't really got to that point yet, but I've seen so many edits of the anime, so I'm very, very aware of what's going on. I really like the mystery elements. I really like the characters. I think the characters are so interesting. I think Mao Mao is an amazing, hilarious, deadpan character. I really like stories with apothecaries. I don't know what it is. It's definitely like a niche I've been finding myself in with a lot of stories. If there's an apothecary, I'm like immediately there. But yeah, if you like very comedic stories, if you like mystery, if you like vague history, if you like court politics, because it's a very political series, I think you'll really, really enjoy this. This one has been blowing up online. So again, I think a lot of you aren't going to be surprised that this series is on here. I think this is an absolute staple series that I think people would enjoy and a great place to start. Continuing on with a series that gives very vague historical elements, I think a lot of you are going to be shocked. This is Spy Family. This is by Tatsuya Endo. This is an amazing spy series that I think vaguely takes inspiration from the Cold War. Now, I could be completely wrong, but I'm seeing a lot of Cold War parallels in this series. In this series, we follow the agent Twilight. Twilight is a spy working for the West, and he is currently residing in Ostanias. Is that what it is? Ostania, which is the East. And he is a spy undercover to stop a war brewing between the two countries. He is given the task of having to find out information of a very specific important government official of the Ostanian government, and it's very, very hard to get access to this individual. He only shows up at specific events, specifically tied to this private school that his son attends. So he is given the very, very difficult task of creating a fake family, ingratiating themselves into this private school that's incredibly hard to get into, find out information from this specific government official because he knows information that could stop this war from brewing, right? So that's kind of the basic line of the plot. What makes this series so good and stand out from quite a lot of other spy series out there is that this family he creates, we've got his wife, bearing in mind he's a spy in his enemy country, creating a fake marriage, a marriage of convenience with a woman who is an assassin. These two do not know each other's secrets. So he doesn't know that his wife's an assassin and she doesn't know that her husband's a spy. They adopt a daughter. He adopts a daughter and pretends that this daughter is actually his real daughter. And his daughter, which he doesn't know, is also a telepath. So you have a child that can read minds, a spy, an assassin, with which all three don't know each other and any of these secrets about each other, one guy's trying to stop a civil war, the other one's just going to get by. The wife, her brother is very important, and it's a very interesting twist, which I won't tell you about because it's done really well in this series. It's just incredible. It's fake family. It's like fake marriage, marriage of convenience, found family, spies. It's so much fun. If you are looking for something and you're like, I'm not really into like magic, I'm not into like fantasy, but I want something that's incredibly action-packed, I would highly, highly, highly recommend this. The mystery's really good. The father-daughter relationship between Anya and Twilight here is so good. It's just so much fun. And it's got espionage, it's got action, it's got a very slow burn romance, very slow burn. So for my slow burn girlies, you'll love it. Super, super funny. Like this first volume in particular had me laughing out loud. So far, I have read 3 of these books and every single volume is just as good as the other. Yeah, perfect for those who want action-packed espionage stories, a little bit of mystery, maybe don't want to get into fantasy too much. I would highly recommend this. Then we have a book that needs no fucking introduction. This is my favorite manga series of all time. This is Fullmetal Alchemist by Hiromu Arakawa. This is oh my God, it's really hard, actually, ironically, to put this series into a category because it does so much stuff. So we'll just go into what it's about. So this follows Edward and Alphonse Elric, who at the beginning of the story, they're about 7 or 8, and their mum dies of an illness. And their dad was a very prolific alchemist. And they heard rumors that you're able to bring somebody back from the dead. So at a very, very young age, they start learning about alchemy. And these are 2 incredibly smart young boys who try and bring their mother back from the dead. Doing alchemy to bring back somebody from the dead is an illegal, forbidden act in this world. Their attempt causes catastrophic results. It ends up meaning that Alphonse loses his entire body and Edward has to sacrifice some of his limbs to tie Alphonse's soul to a suit of armor. Their experiment to bring their mother back brings them into the fold of Captain Roy Mustang, who in the anime is voiced by Travis Willingham, who voices Grog from The Legend of Vox Machina and is super fucking hot. Both Roy Mustang and Travis Willingham, big fan, who basically, to get them out, basically notices their incredible alchemical knowledge and talent and brings them into the fold of the military under the guise of, if they sign up to the military, they can go on the search for the Philosopher's Stone, which is the only way that will allow them to bring their body back. Because the way that alchemy works is that it has to be of an equivalent exchange. So you can't bring back a life without taking a life. And the only thing that will balance out that scale is a Philosopher's Stone. So that's the beginning of the story. What ends up happening is an incredibly epic, complicated, political, social narrative. It covers so much. The plot in this is such an intricate web that Hiromu Arakawa weaves. This book has a great, like genuinely one of the best written plots I've seen in a manga series ever. Great action scenes, incredibly hilarious comedic moments, one of the best sibling dynamics that I have ever read. Great side characters that you're rooting from the very beginning. This is just truly an incredible series, and I would also highly recommend watching the anime after you've read this series. It is so good. It had me sobbing. It is truly epic in nature from beginning to end, a monumental series. And I truly believe this was the first manga that I read. It's the first that I started off with, and I think it's incredible. And it also means that the standard that I have for series is incredibly high because this is so good. So the next book we have is Frieren Beyond Journey's End, which is probably what I would say currently right now on the ongoing series that I'm reading, this is my favorite one. It is so fucking good. It is perfect for those who are fans of Lord of the Rings, if you're a fan of D&D, like The Legend of Vox Machina, anything Critical Role. It is so, so good. The anime is also incredible. Everything you've heard about this series is correct. It's truly, truly incredible. This is a epic fantasy series following an elf called Frieren. So this girlie right here, following her. And at the beginning of the series, you find out that she was part of an adventuring party that did the near impossible and saved the land from the Demon King. It was a 10-year-long journey to defeat the Demon King. And with her, you had Himmel the hero, Aizen the warrior, and Haita the priest. And yeah, they did what nobody thought they were going to be able to do. They defeated the Demon King. They saved the land. They are incredibly important people. And after the big celebration, Frieren turns to her two human and a dwarf comrades and goes, cool, amazing, see you in 50 years. We'll come back, watch this cool little meteor shower that we just watched. We watched all these stars. See you in 50 years. She goes about her life, doing whatever she wants to do because she's an elf and her concept of time is very different. And she returns 50 years later and realizes that this group of people that she spent 10 years with, which is kind of nothing to her, are very old. And not long after their meeting, Himmel, who is a character that has a lot of importance to her in her life, dies. She attends this funeral and she can only have what I describe as like a kind of midlife crisis. And one of those things where you actually spend that time when you kind of look and you think about death a bit too much and it kind of creeps you out and spooks you out a little bit. She has one of those. She starts thinking about the fact that she didn't really spend the time to get to know Himmel. And her concept of her time with Himmel compared to her time frame to her time with Himmel. For Himmel, very, very different experience. And she decides and makes a vow that she is going to follow in Himmel's footsteps and learn more about humanity and connect with humans. And the main focus of this book is she is trying to make it back to the top of the land where she killed the Demon King, which has now been a way that you can talk to spirits. And anybody who's passed on, and she wants to go back and she wants to have one last conversation with Himmel. And that's kind of the basic foundations. The main thing about this and what makes this series so good is this series, one, I think it does a really good look at time. There's a lot of times where we'll find parallels in the present day with elements that happened in Frieren's past. And we'll meet a lot of characters from the 10 years that she was journeying to defeat the Demon King. And there'll be a lot of parallels between two members of her new adventuring party that mimic her and Himmel. And it's a lot about kind of time being cyclical and history repeating itself. But there's also a really good thing about, which is something that Studio Ghibli does a lot, and I'll put the word on the screen because I can't remember what it is, where it really allows you to sit in silence and it really allows you to sit in moments of reflection. While it has some amazing epic battle scenes, they aren't the entirety of the series. There isn't one volume dedicated to battling. Sometimes we'll find the beauty in this series is the mundane. It will be Frieren going around and fixing a road, a blockage on a road for a village that if they do not have that road, they will not be able to sell their wares and the village will struggle. It will be spending a winter trying to decipher this code on this wall door. And we'll really spend time sitting with just the mundanity of life and the slowness of life, which I really, really like, especially when you're viewing everything through the lens of an elf that has so much time on her hands. We meet some amazing new characters like Stark, who is the apprentice of Aizen the warrior, and we meet one of my faves, which is Fern, who is the ward of Haita, who he adopts after a big war where she loses her family. And just the parallels across this series is done so, so well. And kind of a little bit of like, everything will change, but humanity at their core won't. I think it's done really, really well. I think this is a really interesting series because it treats demons as irredeemable, which I think we've had a lot. And this isn't just in manga, but across the board, we've had a lot of times where authors will try to make villains redeemable, and it's quite nice to have villains that just aren't, and you're like, cool, I just know not to trust you, which I think is really quite interesting. And there is an arc called Mact of the Golden Land that does really kind of tackle that, can demons be redeemable characters, which I think is done so well. But truly it's kind of subverting quite a lot of the fantasy manga that we see popular all the time. I just think it's so incredibly good. The art style's really good. The story is amazing. I get emotional all the time. I just really want to see Frieren get to talk to him one last time, and you just think to yourself, what is she going to say as you learn a little bit more about their connection over those 10 years. So incredibly fucking good. truly, truly deserves all the flowers that it gets. Then we have one, which is for everybody, but very specifically for the girlies. We have Yona of the Dawn. This is a really good political fantasy with a big dash of romance. Fucking love this series. In this series, we follow Yona. Yona is a princess. Her dad is actually the second in line for the throne, but her grandfather doesn't abdicate from the throne. He basically makes it known that his oldest son will not be inheriting the throne, but his second son will be, and that is Yona's father. And Yona's father rules with peace being the only option, and his not getting involved in other affairs, keep the peace, keep the peace. And at the very beginning of the novel, Yona's cousin, it's a bit weird because she thinks she has a big fat crush on her cousin, and I was a bit like, girly, what? But don't worry. Don't worry. I think that gets nipped in the bud very quickly because him and his father, her uncle, kill the king, overthrow the kingdom, right? Yona ends up having to escape with her childhood friend / bodyguard, Hack, and has to basically run away for her own safety. And the series is about her learning what it means to be the ruler that this kingdom needs, learning about the pitfalls of her father's reign and how she can do better, and growing and learning as an individual. It's so good. There is this really interesting prophecy about the Crimson Leader and these interesting dragons. It starts off very, not very fantasy for the first 2 or 3 volumes, and then the fantasy elements come up. It wasn't the most super epic. I think, did I call it an epic fantasy? I hope I didn't. Whoopsie if I did. It's not fantasy's the main thing, but the fantasy flows well within it. The big key thing for me is Yona's character development in this, even already in the first 6, 7 volumes that I've read, is so good. But I will be honest and say, it is the romance in this that really works. This is a very interesting romance between Yona and Hack. Hack is her childhood friend, also acting as her bodyguard. And it's quite interesting because I wouldn't call it a slow burn, because it's quite obvious how these two feel about each other, especially on Hack's side. But there's too many things going on at the moment for Yona and Hack to really make there be a relationship between them. Yona's got to unite the people back together. She's got to get her throne. She's got so many things that she needs to do. So what you kind of get is a lot of really fun and exciting and kind of sexy flirting, but they're not together. So you kind of still have the will they, won't they, with a lot of flirting, which I think is actually done really, really well. I love all the side characters that we have here. They are so much fun. I do like a lot of men being obsessed with a woman. I do love that. I love that for her. Yona is genuinely just an amazing female character. The character growth going from kind of an ignorant, naive princess to, even in the first 6 or 7 volumes, standing up for her people, taking action, being courageous is so good. There are many, many volumes in this series, and I'm very, very intrigued to see how it ends. There's 1 season of the anime so far, but they are currently making the 2nd season, so I do need to get on with this. Again, this was a very long series of which I've tried to buy many, many volumes. I still have a lot to go, but this is just so good. This is so good. You get political intrigue, you get action, you get amazing side characters, you get comedy, you get a really fucking good romance. This series has everything. Then we have one which has been all over the internet recently due to the recent anime adaptation. This is Hat Atelier. This is by Kamome Shirahama. This is the most perfect, whimsical fairy tale. If this is dark Brothers Grimm fairy tale, this is just the most perfect, fun Stardust. I think Stardust by Neil Gaiman, not to mention Neil Gaiman on the channel. It's the first book that came into my head. We don't like Neil Gaiman, but that kind of world, this is what Witch Hat Atelier is. This is a really, really interesting series. In the series, we follow Coco. Coco is a young girl that wishes she had magic. Desperately wishes she had magic. In this world, no one knows where magic comes from. No one understands what magic is. Magic can only be performed by specific individuals. No one knows how they got magic. Even being seen out doing magic is kind of illegal. It's a very magic is a very secretive thing in this world. And one day, Kifri, which is this man here, visits Coco's mother's shop. Coco manages to find out the ultimate big #1 secret of magic is that magic is not born. Magic is not something you are bestowed on by a higher power. Magic is something learnt. Magic is made up of sigils that anyone can learn if they have the right tools and the right components and the right skill. But it is not something that is innate through blood, through random, you're born with it. It is something that anybody can access. And it's really interesting kind of lore and history and backstory to why magic is so outlawed. And Coco, having found out, anybody could do it because it's just drawing sigils, it's giving Fullmetal Alchemist. She does the ultimate sin. She performs a spell that was given to her by a very mysterious individual when she was very young. And it causes the entire house, her mother, all the staff, and this shop that her mum owns, causes them all to turn to stone. And Frieren comes in and saves Coco from turning to stone herself and manages to find a way to basically make her his ward and teach her how to use magic so one day she can break the spell on her shop. So that is her goal. Her goal is to learn to be the best witch she can be and break the spell that she put on her mother and the shop that she grew up in. Along the way, there is something very interesting about Coco. There is a kind of forbidden group of magic users. It's giving very the Yiga clan from Breath of the Wild, who have secret, what's the word I'm looking for? Goals that we don't know about. They are ostracized group of magic users. And there's something grumbling about Coco herself. There's something about Coco that is important. I am not super up to date. I'm about halfway through the volumes that I own, but it is so good. What I really, really like about this is we look at different ways that different people approach magic. Coco, when she joins the Atelier, Frieren's Atelier, she is not the only ward. There are 3 other young girls, and their relationship with magic and the way that they view magic and they view their skills and their learning is so interesting. Agat, I believe. It's Agot or Agat. I don't know what her name, how you pronounce it because I've only been reading it. She is an incredibly interesting character, very, very different to Coco, and I really like their dynamic. There is a very interesting history and lore and backstory to this world, which I think is really done. The art style is probably one of the best art styles that I have seen in a manga ever. It's just so whimsical. Like, it does give Studio Ghibli vibes. It does give that kind of whimsical, but with a really strong core message that Studio Ghibli is very good at doing. There was rumors that potentially they were going to animate the anime, which they didn't, and I would have loved that if they did. But it is just so good. The first season of the anime is out. I'm really, really excited. It's like beloved in France as well. Like France loves this series. But yeah, this is a really good, fun, whimsical. There's great disability representation in like throughout this series. There is, I don't know whether they're gay in real life, but there's Kiefer's got something going on with the other guy that lives in the Atelier. They're basically married. I don't know whether, I think it's more of a subtext thing. But this is just such a good, great, amazing, beautiful, powerful series. Continuing on with fantasy, we have 3 more to go. We have Delicious in Dungeon by Ryoku Kui. This is very D&D. Again, if you're a D&D fan, you will love this. On this island, there's this big fuck off dungeon with many layers that go into the ground. And if you get to the bottom of the dungeon, there's this golden country, which has been locked away and barred by a lunatic magician. And if you go down to the bottom of the dungeon, defeat the lunatic magician, you get the golden country and all the riches that are there, right? I'm pretty sure that's correct. The Wikipedia refresh has given me nothing. In this series, we follow Leos. Leos is part of a adventuring party and he's having a good time. They're doing well until, his sister gets eaten by a fucking dragon and they all basically nearly die and are brought back to the very beginning of the dungeon. And he's like, well, fuck. We have to immediately get back to my sister because in the way that the world works, a little bit like Dungeons and Dragons, you can get, if you die, you can get revived quite easily. But if you get eaten by a dragon and your whole body is not intact, you can't get brought back. So he's like, we need to go back into the dungeon immediately and bring back my sister. And most of his party are like, we're not doing that because we have got no reserves. We've got no food. It's going to cost way too much to get us to the point that we were at that point in the dungeon. We're bowing out. So Leos is what I'm going to do. What am I going to do? He is left with only 2 members of his adventuring party, a young elven mage, Marcel, who's definitely, in my opinion, in love with his sister. I'm putting it out there. That's what the manga is trying not to tell me, but it's what the manga is also telling me at the same time. They also have Chilchuck, who is a halfling kind of rogue in a way, and they're the only 3 left in the group, and they're like, cool, what are we gonna do? And Leos is like, I have no idea what we're gonna do. And they meet a really interesting guy called Senshi, who is a dwarven barbarian, essentially, who's like, cool, you can eat the monsters. And they're like, what? And they're like, yeah, you can eat the monsters, and I'm really good at cooking. So what I'll do is I'll come with you and we'll kill some monsters and we'll eat them. And then that's how you can get to the bottom of the dungeon. And Leos is like, fucking brill, let's go. So the most of the series is watching these people go through the dungeon, fighting what they meet the amazing eclectic monsters that make up this dungeon, learn a little bit more about the history of the dungeon and why it's here, and get some great, good cooking food scenes. If you like the food in Studio Ghibli, you will love the food and the way that the food is illustrated in this. It is, again, like a really fun, action-packed fantasy with some comedy. You get to volume like 5 or 6 and then the story amps up. Like really, if you get to about volume 5 and you're like, what's really going on? Like you meet the dragon a lot earlier than you think you're gonna meet it, and that's all I'll say. And you think to yourself, how does this go on up to volume like 14, 15? This story is jam-packed with really, really interesting characters, interesting monsters, really, really fun. They elevate the story in a way that I wasn't sure when I was reading this at first. I was like, cool, there's only so many volumes I can read about people going down a dungeon. And then they're like, cool, you think you know where the story's going? You don't. It's really good. It's another very successful anime series. So again, it's part of a list that you're probably not surprised to see on here. But yeah, really, really good. I would highly, highly, highly recommend this series. It's really fun. And then for my adult readers, this is one where all the others are kind of around teen age categories. This one isn't. This is an adult romance. This is a really, really good contemporary workplace romance that follows 2 individuals. Asako works in the finance department of this like big beauty, like a Bath and Body Works kind of company, or like Lush, something like that. She works in the finance department. She absolutely loves working for this company. She has a really complicated relationship with sweat. She's a sweaty, sweaty girl. So she is one of those people like myself who constantly has perfumes, what she uses on her body. She's very specific about how she smells. She wants to smell really beautiful, right? Because of being a sweaty, sweaty gal. And listen, I get it. So she's just living her life, having a great day. And she ends up bumping into this man here. And he smells her and he's like, this woman smells amazing. Wait, I've got a really good idea for a line. And it becomes incredibly successful. And she becomes his muse. And he's like low-key obsessed with her. She's like, what the hell is this? Turns out he's the head of product development for this company. And he's not only obsessed with her in like a professional you're my muse way, he also adult obsessed with her. Okay, and it's about their workplace romance. It's about how they fall in love. What I really like about this series is I love the characters. The communication between them is great. They get together in the first volume. So they're not dragging out this will they, won't they? They get together in the first volume and you're just watching them as they navigate their relationship, both at work and outside of work. It's just so fun, but I will pre-warn you, it is 18 plus. So there are some suggestive panels in this, but it's also a really, really lovely, beautiful romance. I have, again, this is a completed series. They're up to date. I got spoiled how it ends because the cover of like the 12th volume spoils everything and it spoils where their relationship goes, which also I shouldn't be confused because it's a romance and it has a happily ever after because all romances are supposed to have happily ever afters because you're not a romance if you don't. But anyway, it's just a really, really good, fun story. It's a lovely romance. And then finally, we have a new adult contemporary romance. We're ending off with more romance. We have A Sign of Affection. This is a amazing, lovely, just beautiful contemporary romance following Yuki. Following Yuki, she is deaf and she ends up falling in love with this man here, Itsuomi, who is a polyglot, and they fall in love as she's teaching him sign language. And it's really, really good. Again, it's just really just lovely. I absolutely adore this couple. I really, really like the way that the plot is set out. I think the deaf representation and getting Japanese sign language across into a written medium, which is obviously there's no movement involved, I think is done really, really well. And a lot of people were involved in the process of making sure that Yuki's disability is represented correctly and the Japanese sign language is correct and as correct as you can make it written on the page. The romance in this is really good. There's a great situation going on with Yuki's old childhood friend who, you know, is very jealous of her new relationship, which I have to say, I'm eating it up. I'm eating it up. It's really good. Their relationship's really lovely. Most romances, to my knowledge, at that point before I picked up the series, were high school romances or fantasy with a dash of romance, like Yona of the Dawn. So when I found that this was set at a university as someone who's 25 years old, I was like, hell yeah. Hell yeah. So it's really, really good. I really, really like it. There's a lot of conversation about like long distance because Itsuomi is a big traveler. That's why he's learned loads of languages. It's why he's really interested in learning sign language. And there's a lot of conversations about Itsuomi slightly older than her and what that dynamic means. You've got, you know, a bit of a jealousy trope, which is really, really good. I was really, really worried that they were going to make Yuki this really kind of naive, childlike kind of character and like she can't do anything. Because when you see artwork like this, and like that, I think to myself, oh God, we're gonna act like she can't have a fucking thought in her brain, aren't we? But she's actually really good. She's just a really lovely, sweet character, but she desperately wants to be able to communicate with the people that she loves and live life to the fullest that she can and be confident in herself and her ability and just love life. And I really, really like that about her. I think their relationship is done really well. Again, there's no immaturity in this. There's nothing where you want to throw your book against the wall because you're like, for God's sake, just like communicate. There's none of that. It's just very clear cut, but that doesn't mean it loses any kind of excitement or exhilaration. It's just done really, really well. And the side characters are really good as well. Yeah, I just really like it. And they do them in these really nice 3-in-1 volumes, which makes things so much easier because I love them. But yeah, that's it. This is my manga recommendations, but these are the top 10 manga recommendations for beginners. We covered a big variety. We covered teen, we covered adult, we covered horror, we covered vague historical fiction, we covered action fantasy. What did we not cover today? So yes, if you are happy with this, please like and subscribe and all that fun stuff, and let me know any manga that you love. As I literally said at the beginning of the intro, don't tell me what I've not included. You can tell me what you like, just don't go, surprised you didn't include this, because these are my personal opinions. But yes, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe and all that fun stuff, and I'll see you in a new video.